Hello, and welcome to episode number 118 of WrestleRotica, the podcast that combines wrestling with erotica. This week we have two stories to share with you. The first story is entitled The Microphone Part 1. After the end of Monday Night Raw, a fan finds himself in the backstage area. As he continues to explore, he hears some moaning, and upon further exploration, finds Lillian Garcia enjoying herself. He decides to then join in. Story 2 is entitled Rosa's Glamazon Internship. Rosa Mendes has been obsessed with Beth Phoenix for weeks when Santino Marella decides that they will use her as an intern. At first, Beth is dissatisfied with this new arrangement, but she quickly learns that having Rosa around can lead to some very fun things. Without further ado, let's get to this week's stories. This story is entitled The Microphone Part 1. And it was written by WoW FM member Charlie. Raw had just finished and I managed to sneak back into the stage area. But with some bad luck I got lost. So I kept going, trying to find some of Raw's superstars. But then I hear this moan coming from a room, just a few feet from where I am.
Oh.
So I move closer to that room. The door slightly open as I peek inside to find out what that moan was. And I see Lillian Garcia playing with her microphone. She was stroking it like a hard cock, slowly stroking it up and down. Then, with one hand, she pulls down her panties, then licking her fingers, then sticking them in her pussy, while still stroking her microphone moaning. I was like, fuck me! If she's in the mood for sex, then a man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. I knock on the door and I hear her say, Lillian. Oh shit! Just a minute! Okay! Come in. Charlie. Hi, Lillian. How are you doing? Lillian. I'm fine. And you are? Charlie. I'm sorry. My name is Charlie. Lillian. Nice to meet you, Charlie. What can I do for you? Charlie. No, it's what I can do for you. She looked confused, so I whisper into her ear what I saw her do to herself. At first she felt embarrassed, but then I got on my knees. I open her legs up, rubbing my hands up her legs until I reach her panties. Then I slowly pull them down. Once they were gone, her legs were open. Her fingers playing with her pussy, as I slowly kissed her thighs, working my way up to her sweet pussy. Once I reached it, I licked my fingers and inserted them inside her, slowly pulling them in and out, while licking her clits. Her moans sounded like the ones I heard before, so I kept going. Then I thought, I'll just eat her pussy out. After a while I could feel my dick getting hard. But hey, who wouldn't get a hard on while going down on Lillian? As I was eating her out, as I was eating out her pussy, her thighs pressed up against my face, and the grip of her hands getting tight on my head as I kept going. Lillian. Ow, Charlie! Oh, Charlie! Then I had stopped, so we both stand up. Then she looks down and notices my heart on. With a smile on her face, she says, Lillian, I see you're up! So she takes my shirt off, then I took her top off. Then she went straight for my pants, undoing my pants, then pulls them down, along with my boxers, exposing my big hard cock up and ready to go.
Big hard cock.
As I kicked them away, I noticed that she wasn't wearing a bra, so I took her skirt off. Lillian then turns around, pressing her left side of her body against my right side. Then Lillian grabs hold of my cock, stroking it like she did with her mic earlier. So I kept fingering her pussy with my right hand, while my left was holding her breast. As her head turns around mine, she kisses me. Then her right hand was moving from my thigh to my ass. Once she reached, she kept a firm grip on it, like she was holding on for her life. While we were still giving each other handjobs, her moans got louder as we kept kissing. Then Lillian pulls back and turns around, while still holding my cock and says to me, Lillian, hey Charlie, I want that big cock of yours. So she got on her knees, tickling, then holding my balls while she started to lick my hard rod, slowly making sure it's wet all over. So she kept licking my cock from the tip down to my balls. Then, once that was done, she swallowed it. She could only manage 2/3, so I say, Charlie, Lillian, can't you take it all? Lillian, I can't, Charlie! It's just so big! Charlie, okay, just take as much as you can, okay? Lillian kept on going down on my cock as much as she could, her head going up and down like a pump. Then, when she swallowed as much as she could, she then comes up, but very slowly. Shit! I at first thought she made me come. She briefly stops and says to me, Lillian, you like it when I come up slowly. Charlie, fuck me, Lillian! You almost made me come! So Lillian kept swallowing my hard rod and slowly came up on it as I screamed out, Charlie, holy shit! Then I came shooting my load on her beautiful face. But she kept going, swallowing my hard cock even as I was still coming. I could feel I was shooting right down her throat, which made me scream out, Charlie, oh, fuck me! Fuck me! Once I'd finished, she was still holding my cock and says, Lillian, hey, Charlie, I want you to take your big hard cock and stick it up here. Lillian pointing to her little hole.
The little hole.
So we both stood up. Lillian turns around with both hands on her sweet ass cheeks, pulling them sideways. So I took my hard rod and slid it inside her tiny hole. And I'm not talking about her pussy either. Fuck. I noticed that no one has done her in the anal position. Aww. I placed both arms around her waist while beginning to anal fuck her as she moans like a virgin does when you first stick your cock inside that tight little hole. Since it was her first time for anal, the gentleman that I am, I thought I'd keep going slow, up her ass until she tells me otherwise, as she held me tight telling me to go. Lillian, deeper, baby! So I went deep inside her. That made her moan out louder as we kept holding each other tight. You'd think we were on the edge of a cliff. As I continued to fuck her hard, and moments later I pull my cock out and turn her around, sticking my hard cock inside her pussy. Her hands on my face with her head tilted back, and my face at her breast, tickling, then sucking them. And my hands holding her firm little ass of hers, while a digit of mine slips into the little hole that my cock was previously in. As I held her tight, fucking her standing up, as her moans again got louder.
Ooh.
With their moans being so loud, I'm surprised I'm not deaf. But hey, it's worth it though. About 15 minutes later, Lillian pulls my head back. Lillian, on your back, boy! So I slowly moved down to the floor and onto my back, with Lillian on top. At first she pinned both my arms down and rode me like a wild horse at a rodeo. So she kept riding me, then her hands slowly coming down my arms, then onto my chest. As her hands kept moving down my body, I still had my hands on her ass and still had a digit up her other hole. Then she began touching herself with her hands on her hips, moving up towards her breast, holding them tight. As Lillian continued to ride me, she started to lean back as she rode me, moving back and forth, kinda like what Sharon Stone did in Basic Instinct. But hey, I'm not complaining as Lillian kept going, as we were both moaning. Oh! Charlie, I'm coming! Lillian then jumps off, holding my hard rod against her pussy, stroking it until I come. Then splat! I did. She kept stroking my cock as my load was shot up like a water fountain and onto her body, with her other hand holding her hair back. Lillian kept pulling, then I saw a bit of cum shoot up, so high, Lillian caught it on her tongue, as the rest mainly ended up on her breast, cum all over her sexy body of hers. Lillian then lies on top of me, kisses me, pressing her pussy against my cock. Then she asked, Lillian, hey, Charlie, you tasted so sweet. Charlie, thanks. Lillian, see you next week. To be continued. The end. This story is entitled Rose's Glamazon Internship, and it was written by Big Chief. For weeks, the Glamazon Beth Phoenix had been dealing with her crazy obsessed fan, Rosa Mendez.
Peligrosa!
She had gone from just being prominent at ringside to attacking Beth's top rival, Melina, on countless accounts, only to be pulled out of the arena by security. When WWE General Manager Stephanie McMahon banned Rosa from the building due to these actions, Rosa's boyfriend, WWE superstar Santino Marella, decided to help her tiptoe around the ban by making her an intern. This decision by Santino was something that Beth was not exactly happy about, not really wanting someone as obsessed as Rosa was. Her mood over the whole thing would become worse after the Royal Rumble, when Beth lost the women's title to Melina.
1, 2, 3!
With Rosa and Santino being at ringside and not helping out at all. As she entered the arena on Monday night in Cleveland, Ohio, she was clearly in no mood to deal with anyone and decided not to ride into town with Santino. Tossing her bags into the women's locker room, she went to find out if she would be in action for the show, and discovered she could have a chance to get revenge for the night before, as she would team up with Jillian Hall to face Melina and Kelly Kelly. With revenge on her mind, Beth decided to take the free time before the show, would begin to do some workout, and using the motivation of unleashing some pain in the match later that night, hopefully to Melina. Later that night, Beth and Jillian dominated Kelly in the ring, keeping her from making the tag to Melina. Then, out of nowhere, Rosa ran down to the ring and quickly yanked at Melina's leg, pulling her from the ring apron, sending her crashing to the floor. And then she quickly ran back to the backstage area. The move left Kelly with no partner, and she was left to the mercy of Beth and Jillian. Not long after Melina was taken out, Beth hit the Glam Slam and scored the pin. As Jillian and Beth exited the ring, and made their way up the rampway in victory, Melina was finally able to get in the ring and check on Kelly, while giving a dirty look to a smiling Beth Phoenix. As the two blondes finally walked into the gorilla position to head to the backstage, Jillian mentioned how lucky Beth was to have Rosa in her pocket. Man, Beth, I guess there is a plus side to having such a nut job obsessing over you. Did you see how pissed Melina was?
Yes!
Yeah, I guess you're right. I might have jumped to judgment a little too soon on her. Maybe Santino had the right idea on the whole intern thing. As Jillian went off to change out of her ring gear, Beth went to find Rosa. As she walked through the hallways, she saw Santino and Rosa talking, with one of the camera guys fixed on them. Rosa was going off on how she hoped she did the right thing, and how she took a stand against the horrible thing that happened with Melina winning the title the night before. As Rosa went off on the rant, Beth just stood behind her, with her arms crossed, with a stone look on her face. With Rosa not realizing, a nervous Santino finally brought the Glamazon's presence to her. As Rosa turned around, she quickly turned around to see a very serious-looking Beth. After a few seconds, a smirk came across her face, and Beth simply said, "We can keep her," and with a full smile, walked away. With Beth's approval, Rosa became ecstatic, as Santino beamed as if he knew all along that Beth would accept her new intern. Finally giving Rosa the approval she had been seeking, Beth made her way towards the women's locker room to change out of her ring gear and take a quick shower to clean off the sweat from the match. As she walked in, Jillian had a towel wrapped around her body, about to head to the showers. "Hey, where did you go?" "I went to find Rosa. I decided to take that wacko up on the whole intern deal. See, I bet with her around you, you'll get the belt back soon enough." She then walked to the opposite side of the locker room, to the entrance of the showers. By herself now, Beth sat down and started to undo her ring boots and toss them near her bags. She then proceeded to strip out of the tight ring outfit and put it into her gear bag, leaving her in nothing but a black thong. She then pulled off her Glamazon crown and added it to the bag, followed by her panties, before grabbing a towel and making her way towards the showers. The showers were divided into small cubicles, with a curtain across the entrance for privacy, and the farthest one had steam pouring over the top, where Jillian obviously was showering. Deciding to get in the nearest one, Beth put her towel on a rack across the stall entrance and walked in, closing the curtain. Halfway through her own shower, Beth could hear Jillian's turn off, and after a few moments, the footsteps walked past. "I'll catch you later, Beth. I'm going to head off to the catering for dinner," Beth just acknowledged with the later as Jillian walked back into the locker room. Finishing up her shower, Beth rinsed the remaining soap off of her body, and before turning off the water, gave herself a quick rub in between her legs, giving a quick little smirk across her face. Doing the fill for just a quick little jolt, and not the full explosion. She then turned towards the shower knobs and turned off the water. As she pulled back the curtain, she was surprised to see a smiling Rosa standing at the entrance, holding the towel outstretched. The first thing that came to Beth's mind was years ago, when Mickie James was almost stalking Trish Stratus, and did the very same thing. Beth then quickly snatched the towel out of her waiting hands, and wrapped it around her wet body, as Rosa produced a second towel. "Rosa! What are you doing?" As Beth asked this, she snatched the second towel from Rosa's hands, and began to dry her soaked hair. "I was just wanting to start my internship as soon as possible," she replied with that same crazy smile she had earlier. "I just want to make sure I don't let you down." "Well, don't worry. As long as you do what I tell you, you'll be okay. Now why don't you start by going down to catering and getting me a salad?" Without even a reply, Rosa quickly rushed out of the showers and out of the locker room, hoping that she didn't make a mistake in accepting her. Beth walked out into the locker room and tossed the towel, now soaked from her hair, into the locker stall by her bags. She then pulled off the towel from her body and tossed it with the others. Going through her bag with her street clothes, she pulled out a matching pair of black bra and panties. She then grabbed a black t-shirt and a pair of jeans, and then threw on a pair of sneakers. Now fully dressed, she would put all her stuff away in her 2 bags and close them up, so she could quickly leave once the show was over. As she walked out of the locker room, she was nearly bowled over by a rushing Rosa with a salad in her hands. "Oh my God, Beth! I'm sorry!" A little frustrated, she quickly calmed. "It's okay, Rosa. Nothing's hurt. Don't worry about it." She then took the salad from her and had a mixture of surprise and worry about how it was exactly how she liked it. "Now, how about you go and just relax? Enjoy the rest of the day." "Okay, Beth. I hope the salad is just how you like it." The energetic Latina then quickly turned and walked off, leaving Beth standing there with the salad in her hand. She then muttered under her breath, "Boy, I hope I didn't make a mistake." She then went to find a place to sit down and eat her salad. Raw rolled into St. Louis, and after a full week of having Rosa Mendez as her intern, and the Glamazon had started to warm towards her. The crazy Latina was following every word of Beth's to the T, and it was making her life at the shows much easier. As she got to the building, Beth had Rosa bring her bags to the locker room, and decided to find if she was on the card for the night. Finding one of the producers, she found that she would be against her former nemesis, Candice Michelle, in a one-on-one match. The news made Beth smile, as it had been quite a while since Candice had been wrestling, and she saw that it would be an easy match, to help her take a little more of the anger she had after losing to Melina at the Rumble. Once she ran back into Rosa, Beth told her that tonight for the match she would be coming with her and Santino down to the ring for the match, and when it was done, she'd have another test for her loyalty. Rosa just responded with her usual crazy smile, saying she would do anything that Beth wanted. That produced a slight smirk, with Rosa having no idea what came into Beth's mind. As the time passed, moving towards the show, Beth kept herself busy with Rosa right at her side, like a loyal pet. Whenever Beth would want something done, Rosa went running without a question, really acting more like Beth's slave than an intern. The more Rosa did, the more Beth thought about her last test to see how Rosa really was. As the day went on, Beth became more and more set in her mind that once she disposed of Candice later that night, she would really see how loyal Rosa was to her. The ref slapped his hand to the canvas for a third time, as Beth used her glam slam to pick up another win, putting down Candice Michelle. As Beth's music began to pipe into the arena, Santino and Rosa entered the ring, celebrating the victory of the former women's champion. As Beth stood victorious in the ring, she started giving Rosa orders, pointing to the downed Candice Michelle. As soon as her boss finished speaking, the deranged Rosa went over to Candice and, grabbing her by her black hair, yanked the prone diva towards the ring ropes and proceeded to toss her with a thud to the ringside mats. Like a proud parent, Beth beamed at Rosa's work, and after making it clear that with divas, this ring belonged to her, she left the ring, with Santino and Rosa in tow. All the way up the ramp, Rosa was right by the Glamazon side, beaming from ear to ear, happy that she had pleased her hero. Walking through the gorilla position, Santino kept telling Beth how good she was, how Candice was nothing, just a warm-up on her way to taking back her belt from Melina. After a few minutes of Santino sucking up, Beth decided to tell him to go find something to do, as she needed to have some time to herself. Always the yes man to Beth, Santino took off and left Beth and Rosa alone in the hallway. I've got to say, Rosa, you've been doing a good job as an intern. If you keep up listening to me, I think there's going to be just good things for you. Oh, I'm so happy I'm making you happy. I just couldn't imagine how I'd feel if I didn't make you happy. Really, Beth, I'm willing to do anything you say. Well, Rosa, I'm going to really see if that's true later. But why don't you get something to eat? And I'll see you in a few, okay? Rosa just gave another giant smile and turned away from her idol, doing exactly what she was told. Getting a bit of alone time, Beth returned to the locker room to wash off the sweat of the match and change into her street clothes. Unlike last week, she had the locker room to herself, with the rest of the divas elsewhere in the building. This time, after she stripped down from her ring gear, she grabbed a towel and a big bathrobe she had bought over the weekend, and headed to the showers. Like in Cleveland, there were separate stalls, with these being separated by concrete walls all the way to the ceiling, and curtains that extended right to the floor, allowing a lot of privacy. Deciding to take a good amount of time, she spent about 15 minutes in the shower, enjoying the hot water soaking into her well-toned, muscular body. When she finally finished, she grabbed the towel and started to dry off a bit before wrapping herself in the soft fabric of the robe. As she walked back out into the locker room, she saw she was no longer around, as Rosa sat on the bench by Beth's bags, with her usual smile across her face. Well, I'm glad to see you're back, Rosa. You said that if I ask you anything, you'd do it, right? Of course! Anything you want. You just say the word. I'll do it. No question. Beth liked the very quick and perky response that Rosa gave, causing a very evil smirk to come across her face. Not even catching on the subtle change in Beth's facial expression, Rosa just continued to look up at her with the same big smile. Okay, well, come and follow me. Before Beth could even make the motion with her finger, Rosa was on her feet, ready to follow her to hell and back. Beth led her obsessed intern into the shower room and towards the stalls, where she had just been a minute before. Turning around to face Rosa, Beth was greeted again with a smiling face, just waiting to hear what her boss wanted. Well, Rosa, I was wondering if you would do me a very good favor. Santino isn't exactly a performer, but I keep him around because he's got his usefulness. So I thought that since you are so dedicated to making me happy. As Beth talked, she slowly started to undo the sash of her robe, but before she could finish what she was saying, Rosa just moved in, and without warning planted a giant kiss on the Glamazon's lips. Even though Rosa had caught on to what she was hinting, Beth was still caught off guard by the sudden kiss. As Rosa's tongue pushed its way into her mouth, Beth finished undoing the sash, letting it fall to her sides, and allowing her robe to slightly drift open. With her hands now free, Beth brought them up, and grabbed onto the sides of Rosa's head, and began to return the kiss. Having not been with another woman for a long time, Beth was really enjoying the very passionate kiss, and was realizing now that it was the perfect choice to accept Rosa into her life. Once Rosa had enough of the kiss, she broke the kiss, and pushed Rosa away, who still acted loyal, but breaking away as well. While Beth obviously wanted the kiss, Rosa's smiling face was gone, with a look of wonder if she had done right. This was responded with a naughty smirk on Beth's face, that quickly assured Rosa that she had done right. Beth then opened up the front of her robe to reveal her large exposed breast, flat-toned stomach, and a small little triangle of blonde hair at her crotch. So, what do you say, Rosa? Are you really willing to do anything I want? With a hungry and happy look on her smiling face, Rosa nodded her head, which in turn caused an even bigger smile to come across Beth. Now knowing she had her, Beth walked into the nearby shower stall, with Rosa closely in tow. Pulling off the robe and throwing it out to the floor of the showers, Beth leaned her back against the tiled showered wall, jutting her crotch out. Without any more motivation, Rosa again leaned forward, this time aiming her mouth to the two giant globes of Beth's breast. Her eager mouth quickly started to nibble on the little bud of Beth's right nipple, sending a nice electrical thrill up her spine. With Rosa's mouth paying attention to Beth's right breast, her hand started to grope the left breast, massaging it and twisting the nipple with her thumb and index finger. Rosa continued to do this for a minute or so, and then began to trail her lips from the nipple, and began to move down, with her tongue stuck out, licking along the skin of the breast, down, onto her torso, to her stomach, and once she touched the few blonde hairs, pulled her face away. Rosa then repositioned herself, kneeling down on the floor, ready to really show Beth how dedicated she was. Kneeling in front of her idol, Rosa again wasted no time, placing her hands on Beth's thighs and quickly moving her face into her crotch, and began to hungrily lap at her wet pussy. As soon as she began to lick, she could hear Beth's moans start to fill the small little space, letting her know she was doing right. With just her tongue, Rosa parted Beth's soaked lips and quickly found her excited clit. With the little bundle of nerves exposed, Rosa began to feverishly focus her attention on it, dragging her tongue across it repeatedly. Jesus, Rosa! That's it! Play with my clit, you crazy little bitch! Yeah! As she filled the stall with her moans, Beth moved her hands down onto Rosa's head and grabbed two big handfuls of her hair. The pleasure-filled moans were music to Rosa's ears, knowing how well she was doing. Moving her tongue down a bit, she began to push it forward into the warm, tight folds while closing her mouth around the clit. As she sucked on Beth's clit, Rosa began to move her tongue around, sending an amazing amount of pleasure through the former champion's body. Not only was she enjoying the sounds and moans that filled her ears, but the taste that was filling her mouth was even a greater reward for the crazy fan. Being such a big fan of the Glamazon, Rosa had actually dreamed about this moment on many occasions, but never really thought something like this would ever actually happen. As Rosa increased her attack on Beth's pussy, the Glamazon moved her hands to the dark mane of Rosa's head and took the big handfuls of hair, making sure her intern didn't even so much as think of taking her mouth away. The more Rosa moved her tongue forward, and the more Beth gripped onto her hair, the more Rosa became turned on. The more time passed, the more she became turned on, until finally, she brought her right hand down in between her legs, and after undoing her belt and the top button of her jeans, plunged the hand down the front of her pants, and darted it right towards her own soaking wet pussy. Now, as her tongue stroked the folds of Beth's pussy, Rosa's fingers stroked the folds of her own, making it wetter, and increasing her actions towards the champion. With her fingers darting in and out of her tight, hairless pussy, Rosa sucked in as hard as she could, while still moving her tongue, and it was then that Beth's grip on her hair tightened up to the point of almost pain, followed by her soaking walls, clamping down on Rosa's tongue. Oh, fuck! You crazy bitch! I'm coming! Yeah! Fuck! Yes! You crazy bitch! As the orgasm controlled her, Beth's body began very tensed up, with a slight tremor traveling through her and her moans filling up the small shower stall. Had there been any other divas with the locker room next door, they would have easily heard the screams, and the two would have been easily caught. With her oral actions pretty much put to a stop by Beth's tightened up pussy, Rosa increased the movement of her fingers at her own pussy, and tried to quickly move herself into her own orgasm. With all of Beth's juice dripping right into Rosa's mouth, it helped Rosa get closer and closer to her own orgasm. And just as it seemed that Beth's was losing power, it finally hit the intern. With their mouth still unable to escape its current position, instead of filling the locker room with moans, she released them straight into Beth's pussy.
Oh yeah.
As Rosa moaned into her hero's pussy, the sound and closeness of her voice sent vibrations into Beth's still overly sensitive pussy, sending shivers into her body, threatening to give her yet another orgasm, just as the first was dying down. Being stimulated in her post-orgasmic bliss, as her body began to become a little less tense, her hips began almost work on a mind of their own, slowly thrusting towards Rosa's moaning mouth. Still in the daze, her body was almost on autopilot, just working towards the basic instinct of trying to receive another burst of pleasure. While her grip on Rosa's hair had loosened, Beth still held on, making sure she didn't even think of pulling her face back, and now her strong thighs had closed in, pressing on either side of her intern's face, further trapping her face in place. Finally, the vibration of Rosa's moans became too much, and Beth's body again tensed up as her second orgasm hit her, just as the first had finally ended. With the second wave, her grip on Rosa's hair tightened again, while her thighs pushed together even more, like a vice around her head. Shit! Yes! God! Yeah! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! This time Beth's body did not stay completely tense, as her pelvis continued to gyrate forward into Rosa's mouth, who, despite having her head crushed in between the glamazon's strong thighs and continued to moan from her own orgasm, still moved her tongue around, which just added to the orgasm she was giving. As Beth continued in the throes of her orgasm, Rosa's finally began to lose its steam, and after a few more minutes was gone. Not long after, she felt the grip on her hair, and the pressure on the side of her head began to loosen, as Beth, too, began to come out of her own orgasmic high. After a few more seconds, she finally released the grip of her hands and thighs, finally releasing Rosa. As both women caught their breath, they just reveled to the post-orgasmic fill. Once Beth finally got her composure back, she stood back up with her legs still a little weak, and looked down to see Rosa still kneeling down with her head lowered. She then noticed that Rosa's hand was down the front of her jeans, and realized for the first time that Rosa had been playing with herself during the whole time.
Oh yeah!
Rosa! Hearing Beth yell, Rosa's head shot up to see her idol looking down at her with her serious face. Stand up! Wondering if she was in trouble, Rosa stood up and was so worried what was about to happen. Never even pulled her hand from out of her pants. Once Rosa was on her feet, Beth suddenly moved her hand forward and tightly gripped her around her right arm and pulled her hand out from her pants. For the first time since becoming Beth's intern, Rosa felt that she might be in trouble. That was soon cast away as Beth moved her grip to right around her wrist and brought Rosa's hand up towards her face and took the 2 wet digits into her mouth. She then began to suck on the 2 fingers, savoring the taste of Rosa's pussy on them, while Rosa just looked on, shocked and turned on at the same time. When she sucked the taste from Rosa's fingers, Beth pulled her hand away. She then gave Rosa her evil grin, and then moved her face forward and put her intern in a lip lock. Locking lips with her intern, Beth could taste the flavor of her own pussy on Rosa's plump lips, as Rosa moved her hands around and gripped Beth's tight butt. The embrace was very passionate, and like when she sucked on Rosa's fingers, once Beth stopped tasting her own pussy juices on Rosa's lips, she broke the embrace. With the kiss ended, Beth looked at Rosa, who had her eyes closed with a look of ecstasy on her face, just amazed at the passion that was in the kiss. Finally realizing the kiss was over, she opened her eyes finally to be greeted by the smiling face of Beth. Rosa, you did a very, very good job. You're definitely a perfect intern. And I think whenever I need to loosen up before a big match, you'll be able to do the job. And who knows, if you keep up the good job, maybe next time, you might find out how well I can do with my tongue. Rosa just smiled like a happy puppy that just pleased its master, and looked forward to being the best intern she could. While Beth thought how good of an idea it was to accept Rosa, and how she might not need much of Santino anymore. The end. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of WrestleRotica. If you enjoyed this week's stories, please be sure to like, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Visit us elsewhere online, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and as always, our official website, WrestleEroticapod.com. Thank you and have a good week.